Hi, welcome to G3. Today is February 19th, 2015. This is episode number 33, and my name is Tina Chase Gilmore. I always forget that part, so I'm trying to stick it in there. And now that you know who I am, let's meet my lovely co-hosts for today. Up in my upper left here is Rebecca Woodcock. Hi, Rebecca, coming from San Francisco.
Hi, Tina.
How's the fog where you are?
It's really foggy, yeah. It's pretty foggy here, so although we can't really complain. We're not buried in snow or anything.
Exactly. That's why we're missing our lovely Hallie today. I think she's under a snowdrift somewhere in Boston.
Exactly.
I'm so sorry that she's dealing with all that. It's horrible. In my upper right, Christy Wells. Hi, Christy.
Hi, Tina. Hi, everybody.
Are you coming to us from the home office or from the ancestry office?
This is the home office. Excuse the clothes wardrobes behind me, but I'm flying to LA today, so I'm just getting some things done here before I head out.
More excitement in LA for you.
Yeah, little pre-Oscars gifting suite to get to go play in.
Ooh, well, we'll have to hear all about that. And my lower right, from the state of Arizona, and sometimes from the Bay Area, is Francine Hardaway. Hi, Francine.
Well, hi, everybody. It's not snowing here.
It's not. But you're in Arizona, everyone's starting to do their baseball spring training today, or at least the Giants are.
Yeah, no, it's baseball spring training starts, and this is the time when I can never go out to eat because all the restaurants are full of winter visitors, and so this is when I cook. I got about 2 months of solid cooking that I have to do, and after that I can go eat in my own favorite restaurants again.
Because you get what Florida would call snowbirds?
Oh yeah, we get what Arizona calls snowbirds.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, and they start around. Well, this year it was the Super Bowl was in Arizona, so they really start around what used to be called the Phoenix Open, which, are you ready for this, is now called the Waste Management Open, because that's
great.
I am not kidding. That's the only person they could get to pony up, the only company that they could pony up to be the presenting sponsor. So we actually have a golf tournament called the Waste Management Phoenix Open.
Oh my goodness.
So there was that, and then there's we have all these car auctions here because we don't have rust. And so in February, we have these two gigantic, or end of January, these two gigantic car auctions. And then we have the Super Bowl this year. I went to India during all of that. I don't brave all this shit. I was in Mumbai.
Too many people, too many things. You know, speaking of you brought up an interesting topic about sponsorship of events and places. And Christy, we have a friend who's got a company. Is it called Name Place? Is that
Name Place? Lisa Padilla's.
Yeah.
Lisa Padilla Davis, I should say.
Right? We ought to have Lisa on real soon, and maybe she can give us a run through of her company and what they do. And it just reminded me of that.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I saw Lisa Padilla, your Lisa Padilla Davis, at your lovely Valentine's party, Christy, and that was so much fun to see a lot of our friends and eat good food. Gosh, the food was good.
Yeah, it was nice. We had a little potluck, and it was a seated dinner for 25, which was hilarious.
Only Christy can do this.
I don't know.
And not break a sweat, man.
I totally don't know how you do it.
She is a cool
the
cucumber.
Martha Stewart of the geek world.
Absolutely.
Well, I didn't have to cook, so there was the big plus of that side. I just had to make sure there was a table setting for everybody. But no, it was great. I think the beauty of it, and that's what I think, I'm going to call it the collaborative dinner party, right?
Of course you are.
Because everybody brought dishes, which is great. We provided the main, and then everybody brought a side dish or a dessert and a bottle of wine, and it was pretty fantastic.
I'm telling you, if you and Mary threw a party, I am not missing that. Mary can cook, and you can throw a party. So
Absolutely.
Match made in heaven.
You are.
that's
You are
right.
the
Actually, we should
party
make that
essential
happen.
girl.
We should make it happen. We'll actually just put it on the calendar. We'll make it happen.
All right.
Exactly. Stop talking about it.
So I'm wondering, did anybody catch the Saturday Night Live 40th anniversary show? Yes? No.
Bits of it. I mean, I didn't sit down and watch the whole 3 hours, so we DVR'd it, right? Thank God for technology. And so I watched several skits of it and a couple of the opening monologues. And it was interesting because I realized how much of Saturday Night Live I didn't watch over the last, I'm going to say 40 years because I've been around that long. But it was good. It was good entertainment. I mean, there were some hits and there were a couple it was all right. But it was interesting to see the star power come out to play for this.
Well, but that's totally typical of the show, right? There were hits, there were misses, more hits, I thought, but they packed a lot into every line. A lot was pulled out from our memories from way back, and it was quite interesting. I found it a little odd that and we're actually finding out today that Eddie Murphy sort of, he came out and wasn't Mr. Funny Guy Eddie Murphy, was kind of, serious for a moment, introduced, what he was introducing. Chris Rock actually introduced him very, very nicely and well. But it seemed a little like, that's strange, And today or yesterday we're finding out that there was perhaps a Bill Cosby sketch that he was going to participate in, or I don't know if he had committed to participating in it, but that was the idea, and he said no to it. And so maybe that was that feeling of something's not right. I don't feel good about this. Maybe that's what he brought to the stage.
Well, and I think it was
really
Norm
sure.
Macdonald had a beautiful, I'm not going to call it a rant, but it's a Twitter stream of just moments surrounding the whole SNL evening. And, it talks about him, Eddie Murphy coming to the room and they're like, hey, we want you to be on the Celebrity Jeopardy show. We want you to be Bill Cosby. And, Eddie was intentionally said no from the mere fact that he actually didn't want to kick somebody when they were quote unquote down. And I thought that was actually really interesting because he's a comedian and they're always going for laughs. And here he chose the high road instead and just said, out of respect for the work that had been done before, he chose to back out. And I'm like, God, how nice if all of us kind of had that button that we can kind of just push and just do a gut check to say, is this really needed? Do we have to do everything for a laugh, or could we just let it slide on by?
Right. And here he wasn't saying that he supported him anyway. He was just saying, let's not kick him when he's down, because he's down. Right. He's probably down for the count. So and I when I heard about that, I thought, that makes sense, and that was probably what I was feeling about his presence there. It was a little stilted, but he hadn't been back in all these years, so.
I cannot believe how much of Saturday Night Live I haven't seen, and even though I've been alive the whole time, I haven't seen any of it because I just never stay up that late.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
there's these things before even DVRing and on demand. There was videotape, Francine.
You know what? I just didn't care. Most of that I didn't think was funny. For a while, Gilda Radner, maybe, but that's about it for me. I don't know.
Well, as Rolling Stone sort of went through all the. They used to be called Not Ready for Primetime Players. I think now they're just called cast members, but went through all the cast members and rated Gilda number 9, which I think she definitely deserved at least that.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see her. I still kind of wish we would have seen more of the original cast because I loved them so much. Yeah,
a lot of them dead. That's why.
Well, yeah, a number of them. I had the great fortune of meeting them all, which was unbelievable. So I'll never forget it. Okay, well, speaking
I
of,
missed it because it was Valentine's Day, and I had a
it was the
virtual
day
date
after
that night.
Valentine's Day.
Huh?
It was the day after Valentine's Day. It was Sunday.
Valentine's Day was on a Saturday.
Yeah, well, it was
The show was on a
but
Sunday.
The show was on.
Oh,
a
it was on a Sunday. Oh.
Yep, it was three
So
and a half
Saturday
hours on
Night
a
Live
Sunday.
was on a Sunday.
Yep.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Clearly,
So
I
you
was paying attention.
really missed it. You missed it even worse than I missed it.
Yeah, you missed it
I thought I had
conceptually.
but
You missed the time zone. You missed everything.
Yeah.
But speaking of funny, another thing I was realizing that we were off last week, and Rebecca and I were at the Crunchies, which is a Silicon Valley awards show. It's hosted by TechCrunch and VentureBeat, and well, I guess this year TechCrunch and VentureBeat. Used to be also by GigaOM, and there was a little brouhaha with that because T.J. Miller, who is an actor on the show, the HBO show called Silicon Valley, not to be confused with real Silicon Valley,
Which is also a show.
which does seem quite humorous sometimes. Anyway, TJ, he delivered. He was the MC. He was the comedic talent at the Crunchies who is supposed to come in, sort of warm the audience up, give them a little, bring the funny, really.
Bring some comedic relief between, all these boring awards show
And
type
now
things to
Twitter
entertain
is
people.
still up for, best whatever. Okay, so yeah, to just shake it
Lighten
up
the
a little
mood.
bit. And
Really lighten the mood.
after the awards show, well, there was a whole period at the end that just was awful. Let me just say it was bad.
Pretty awful.
He just
Yeah.
really misread the fact that everybody was tired and needed to get out of their seats, and he didn't let them go, and his performance just sort of plummeted. Aside from that, though, to me, there were some interesting and actually fun moments, but a number of people were really, really not happy with it.
Yeah,
And,
you know what it reminded me of? I don't know if you've ever, I'm going to make a really strange analogy, but have you ever seen the movie 21 Jump Street with Tatum Channing or whatever his name is, and the other funny guy?
Hunky Tatum Channing,
It felt like, in this movie, there are two cops that go back to high school and they have to go undercover. And in the original, when they first went to high school, one guy was really popular. But when they went back, he thought, he could do all the same techniques to be popular again. But times have changed. And it's sort of like he walked into this crowd. He tried to be funny in like an LA style funny. But all the cool kids now were very socially conscious and eco-friendly, and it just totally didn't fit. And he suddenly became the outcast. And it was kind of sad, and he realized it, and I think everybody else realized it. And by the end of the show, I think he's just sort of intentionally sabotaged his own performance, and unfortunately pissed off a lot of people.
Well, he raised the question of whether we need award shows altogether. I mean, I of course wasn't there, but I did read a lot about that. And people were like, okay, the Crunchies are over. We don't need them anymore. And, Uber's not a startup and Twitter's not a startup. And if these are supposed to be honoring startups, we got the wrong, candidates in there. So I think it raised a lot of bigger questions.
I think there were two things going on. One is the awards show itself is, what is it honoring? What should it be awarding, honoring, paying homage to? And I think that many people in Silicon Valley said, okay, this kind of started as, a bit of tongue-in-cheek, like let's kind of applaud ourselves and sort of laugh at ourselves a little bit. But now I think there's more of a feeling of, hey, let's do this, but let's elevate this event. Let's really talk about some important things going on. Let's showcase how we are changing the world, which, you know, don't get me started, in and of itself is kind of funny, because, you know, we are and we're not. But
everyone's changing the world here.
yeah, you know, my app is changing everything, right? So, you know, so I think that there's that, but I also think that there was a lot of, I'm sorry, but there's, you know, I'm not sure that this town can take a joke. You know, I'm not sure we can look at ourselves in the mirror and laugh.
But don't you think that's us as society as a whole, though, Tina? I mean, I think that's where we've kind of, I actually had this really interesting conversation. I have a couple of folks from Ireland visiting me right now, and we had this conversation about the dark, dry humor of a lot of Irish folk, and then the difference in like English and British humor versus English American humor. And it was interesting to kind of say just how sensitive we are as a people here in the United States. And I think especially the Silicon Valley, because we just think that we are changing the world, and that we are on this little pedestal that we probably put ourselves on, that, you know, it's hard to take ourselves, you know, it's hard to laugh at ourselves in that respect. So I don't know if that plays into it.
Silicon Valley exceptionalism. That's what it is. Seriously. And you're right. We don't laugh at anything anymore, and that's too bad, because humor was really kind of a good idea, you know, a good way of getting ideas discussed in sort of a non-threatening way. I mean, that's what Jonathan Swift's modest proposal was. It was a way to have people understand that children needed to be fed, you know, and that the poor were being taken advantage of. But he did it through humor and satire. And we don't have that anymore. You're right, Christy.
Yeah, and you know, frankly, my feeling about it was, you know, yeah, there were some misses, just like Saturday Night Live would miss after, you know, a whole bunch of writers and a whole bunch of performers would vet skits and practice them and rehearse them and throw them up for everyone to see. Some of them would miss, and a live performance, live comedy, live stand-up is like that. No matter how practiced you are, you still have to read a room, you still have to work with an audience. And, you know, I think that the solution is we need more comedy in Silicon Valley. I think we need, you know, to invest in some comedy clubs and force people to like go out and laugh a little bit, because dear God, some people were just so humorless. I literally said that TJ there was absolutely nothing funny about him, and I think that's just not true. I mean, you could put
that comment came from one person, so I don't know if that's a representative of the entire room. I honestly thought he was funny for a while, until he completely gave up and decided not to be even professional or funny anymore. Yeah. And I think that's actually what happened.
He sort of lost it there at the end.
He lost it. He completely lost it. And blew up the entire performance at the end.
He did.
So, but there is a lot of laughing at Silicon Valley lately outside of Silicon Valley. And the reason for that is that there's so much money flowing around, so much funding going into what look like very small, you know, niche fields, and so many things that a lot of people on the outside think will never scale, like some of these, you know, food delivery services that no one understands how much population density is necessary to have a really good food delivery service. So there's a lot, you know, and that's just an example. I don't want to pick on them, but there's just an example of how people in Silicon Valley are lately building businesses for each other. And maybe not necessarily for the broader markets that do change the world.
And if we can't see, that's funny.
It is funny.
I mean, we better start laughing at it a little bit. We better start laughing at it a little bit. Well, you know, this kind of almost feels a little tied to the Brian Williams story. And I'm wondering, now that this is all sort of settled a little bit, what does this mean for trust in the media, and what is the media these days, and what is social media, and is that trustworthy? I mean, where are we with this?
No. I mean,
loaded, right?
Mic drop. We're done.
Every single person has a fake persona online. So, I mean, you can only trust everything at face value. I mean, it's not all, nobody's really being honest about everything online. Journalists are probably the most honest people because they probably have some standards. And Brian Williams, I don't know the whole story. Honestly, I haven't been following because I don't care that much. But it sounds like maybe he embellished a little bit and not even that much. And the guy was in a helicopter behind a helicopter that was being shot at. Does that mean you're not being shot at? Like, I don't understand the problem.
Yeah, that's close enough. Exactly. That would be close enough for me. And I would think I was in the middle of it, and I would be scared shitless. So, I agree with you, Rebecca.
The difference comes down to is, and whether or not, I mean, Brian embellished or not, right? I'm not there. I'm not going to judge him personally. I think the important thing, though, is that we do hold journalists to a higher standard in that respect because they've actually held themselves to that higher standard. And when blogging started to become very popular and mainstream, we were actually, as bloggers, getting discounted all the time that we didn't have a certain standards and ethics, and so we weren't the trustworthy.
We weren't checking our facts,
right? And so I think Rebecca
Christy,
hit it on the head.
That is perfect. That is the perfect way to look at it because they do hold themselves to having taught journalism and having wandered around in a journalism college. They do. They believe that journalism is a calling, that they are called to it, and that they have huge responsibilities, all of which is to some extent true. But,
I think that's the interesting thing is, we spent the first couple of years of founding Social Media Club, we really held on a platform of, standardizing processes and ethics and what it actually means to, like, we as an individual becoming citizen journalists and the responsibilities around that. And I mean, Rebecca said it earlier that you really can't trust everything you read or every person that you meet. I mean, whether they're online or offline, that's kind of true because people will show you what they want you to see. But I think the important thing is really just being educated enough to ask the right questions and, being comfortable enough to continue to ask those questions if you don't feel like you're getting the answers you're getting. But, I try to be as truthful as I possibly can. Yeah, I think skepticism is awesome, right? I think there's a reason for it. But I also, when I look at this, I guess just we as bloggers, like I try not to put anything up, granted, yes, I probably show more positive things happening in my life than when I have a really downer Debbie Downer day, I probably won't post that because I just don't want that to negatively impact my friends. But if I'm at a concert or I'm having friends over for dinner, hell yes, I'm going to share that. And that makes my life look great. Is it always that way? No, because I'm a human, right? But I'm also not a journalist. And so I do hope that when they do talk about things and they do state facts, that they are mostly true.
Yeah, what would it be like if we blogged about or posted about, I'm having such a depressing day and I'm in my jammies and I just can't get motivated and I'm on the couch and I'm on my second, 10th hour of Netflix and
Facebook's algorithm eliminates a lot of negative news because it doesn't want to turn people off Facebook. Didn't you read about that?
I read about that. Does that mean that if I posted it, it'll trickle through a little bit, but you're right. It does actually filter that stuff out, which, they
did market research and we don't want to see too much of that. So they have responded and filtered out a lot of that.
And they don't want us to see that either because it makes everybody depressed.
Yeah, but you know what?
It's real life.
Some of the good stuff makes us look, everybody's good life makes the rest of us feel suicidal. So it's a real problem with all of us having public personas and what kind of responsibility that entails. And boy, are we not even close to getting our arms around that. Not even close.
And this is a very serious subject, and I want to keep talking about it. But I just had Rebecca and I think we're laughed at the same time because I feel like we're going to have a cat blocking the camera moment, and I'm like, this is beautiful.
I can't wait.
Yeah, this
is good for internet.
Gray just decided that he has to be here, and I forgot to close the door. And
so ratings, aren't they?
I'll probably shift to one of you and throw him out of the studio.
Aww. No, leave him. He's
awesome. Oh, well, great.
Well, cat videos.
He's going back to his corner.
I think you embarrassed him.
But I think it's, as we get back on the topic too, I think the thing that's really important is, and Francine, you touched on it, like the whole fear of missing out really is a serious issue. And so we've had several conversations with friends who don't live in the Valley, who don't go out quite a bit. And they're like, wow, you guys really have this amazing life. And I'm like, we have some very highs. At the same time, we have some lows, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I just choose not to show them because whether Facebook showed it to my friends or not, I just actually don't choose to put it on my own personal feed for lots of different reasons. And but I think that the whole fear of missing out is something, and people, we get into this whole stage of, I just totally lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Okay, but I'll jump in for you because I am the original queen of FOMO because I live in Arizona. And I had so much FOMO that I blew $300,000-$400,000 on a house in Half Moon Bay for 6 years so that I could, be part of everything and not be left out. Realized that was ridiculous, moved back to Arizona, and now I look at your Valentine party and I'm like, gee, I wish I was there. That is absurd. That is so freaking absurd. But
on the other hand, though,
opposite, because I don't post anything on Facebook, whether it's good or bad, because I'm just kind of an introvert and I don't want people knowing what I'm doing. So I just don't want anyone to know anything about me. And most of the time they figure out because somebody else is tagging me in something. Yeah. And
so,
I post professional things. I share a lot of professional content because I like to do that, and I have a lot of people who like to read it. But I also post dog stuff, and that's because dog stuff is personal and makes me, visible to people as a human being. But on the other hand, it's benign. No one is going to commit suicide or get FOMO or, whatever if I post pictures of my dog.
Well, it's interesting because, the concept here is sharing, right? And so sharing, you'd think, would mean maybe everything, but it's not really, is it? It really does come down to, like, I don't want to share the shit of my life. Come on, who wants to do that? If you happen to be one of my good friends, and if you were so lucky that you get a phone call from me in tears, thank goodness you're on the end, and I'm sorry for you. But that's a one-to-one sort of personal thing. But to put it out there for everybody, I don't know that most of us have that kind of strength. Although we have a friend who maybe we don't even want to say his name, but, he's put a lot of his personal life. Right. And sometimes, I've walked away from it thinking, well, maybe a little bit too much.
I always admire that in other people, but I don't do it myself.
Right.
I'll tell you right now that the biggest thing that occupies my mind that I don't share is aging and what it's like to age. I'm not a fan of my own aging, and I don't want to share my feelings about it with everyone else. So I simply don't, or very rarely anyway, I very rarely mention it. And I look at my own aging in the way our friends, views the molestation incident. That might have been something that I wouldn't have shared.
And Francine, you bring up, aging. I mean, in Silicon Valley, this is a pretty ageist community. There's there have been companies who've been known not to look at people after the age of 30. And I think, you're not even an adult until 30. So, I mean, we've got a disparity.
That's the beauty of even Slack. Like, I was watching an interview from Stuart Butterfield the other day, and I thought it was genius because he's like, honestly, most of our developers are 40 years old. And so they actually made a conscious effort. Yeah, to hire some of the more, I'm going to call us mature,
okay,
right? Not
older,
but mature.
Thank you.
But some of our
experience has had that issue. He calls it out all the time in Silicon Valley.
Hang on, let's hear from Christy. Keep going.
Oh no, I was just going to say, I thought that was a brilliant strategy, whether that was wholly intentional, or just seemed to happen that way because they were bringing in friends to help build the company. But I just thought that was such a great moniker because you look at all the other tech companies around the world, and I'm a woman in my 40s, and to be honest with you, when I was working in startups, I was always part of the oldest crowd, and not just the gender side of the house, but just on the age side of the house too. And I'm strong enough. I don't think that ever affects me. At the same time, it makes for an interesting environment.
And it makes for one that maybe we don't want to talk about it so much.
Right.
Right.
But maybe we should. I really took a deep breath and gave it a good hard thought before I put it out there, even on this show. And you're all my friends. But what the hell? Now I've done it.
Now you've now we've opened it all up.
In 5 years, when I'm as old as you, Francine, I hope I look that good.
Oh, thank you. But we get old. And I love Mark Zuckerberg, and I love him even more because, and this is hilarious, we share a birthday. But Mark Zuckerberg has, famously said, young people are smarter. And I mean, the next time I see him full face on, I'm going to punch him.
Can you smack him for me? Okay.
Totally.
Young people aren't smarter.
They know some things that they have grown up with that older people didn't grow up with and have more difficulty sometimes getting their arms around. But as far as being, altogether smarter is concerned, that's so much a definitional issue, has to do with judgment, has to do with good choices, has to do with a whole lot of things besides maybe IQ points and algorithms. Okay, my rant's over. Sorry.
So we were sort of talking about media and Brian Williams and social and trust. What do we rely on? I mean, what about Twitter? Is Twitter reliable? Is it trustworthy? Does it mean anything anymore? How are we using it? I know we're using it.
But so Francine shared an interesting article about the value of Twitter, and does it even have value anymore? And especially, I guess, now that they've added some sort of tracking features around your sharing or your actual tweet, views, sharing,
some sort of activity usage, right? Or
exactly.
Something like that.
And now that there's this kind of transparency around that, it's actually showing people that maybe it's not that valuable, and I shouldn't be wasting my time on Twitter for a branding or marketing purpose anyway.
Well, it doesn't drive traffic. That article basically said it doesn't drive traffic to websites, which is why all the journalists originally started posting on Twitter, because they thought that people would click through to the articles, click the links, and click through to the articles and read them. But, we all know that no one clicks through anything anymore, and that people will share and retweet and favorite and star and vote up or whatever it is on any of these platforms without having read the article. And that is not on journalists, and it is on consumers and media literacy,
but it is doing something. It is, I think. I mean, if I do that, if I like something, if I basically I'm trying to refer people to something, it is usually coming from, hey, this was an article that my brother-in-law, Dan Gilmore, liked. Well, I trust Dan Gilmore, and I'm going to pass that trust on to you by liking it. And the people who might follow me are knowing that I only do it that way. So there is a certain amount of trust that we sort of pass along, but you're right.
Wait, Tina, don't you read it first?
Sometimes and sometimes not. But the idea is, would I read it? Would I not read something and not know the source or not know who was pointing me at this, and if I trusted them and had a relationship and had a history? Probably not. I would probably read it. But if I do have this sort of longer history of knowing their work, knowing how they think and what they do, I might.
See, that's interesting because and this is a long-standing argument that I've had with our absent friend Robert Scoble about Flipboard, because he says he curates things and flips them into magazines so that I don't have to. I look at everything that he puts in magazines, and I don't believe he's read all of that. Mm-hmm. And I don't ever put anything into a Flipboard magazine or anything that I haven't read. And, maybe I'm crazy.
Well, I don't think I would curate something like that either. But as far as maybe a tweet, I might.
Well, as far as Twitter, I'm a headline reader too. I don't click on anything. Actually, I don't even use Twitter. So what am I talking about? I've stopped using Twitter for a while.
Do you retweet things that you haven't read?
Sorry?
Do you retweet things that you have? It's fine not to click through on things. That's not the point.
I actually have stopped using Twitter altogether. So I don't know how to answer that.
Okay, well, I think that we need to talk about the why. Why have you stopped using Twitter altogether?
Well, for two reasons. One is that as an introvert, I don't like the sense that it gives people immediate access to me. I just kind of want to be able to hide, and there's this expectation of urgency and immediacy and instant access with Twitter. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of, I just want to, when I go home or when I just any given moment, I need to go inward. I don't want to have to deal with that kind of instant access. But also, I just found that the news feed and all that information is really stressful. And the pipeline was incredibly stressful, and I realized, wow, this is self-induced because I'm the one checking Twitter and I'm the one sucking the fire hose. So why don't I just stop sucking the fire hose?
That's and it was very simple. Metaphor.
Yeah, I don't want to go into that metaphor too much about sucking the fire hose, but gotcha.
Well, it is a fire hose. I mean,
yeah. No, I agree. And that is the term for it. That's right.
Okay, Christy, are you using Twitter?
Much less than I was a year ago. And, I think it's for a long time. I signed up, January 2007, I think. So I've been on it for a bit. And it was my primary channel. And I loved it because I could just do really quick, short bursts of thought and share photos and things like this. And I really love that. I'm not a long form kind of girl. So it was interesting. And I just, for whatever reason, I liked the randomness of Twitter, that I felt like Facebook was just like very intentional. Right. I feel like I went to Facebook and it was actually like I had to connect with friends and I had to connect with family, where Twitter was like this amazing platform where I can just kind of dive in and read interesting articles and curate lists as I wanted to. And it was great. But I will tell you that for whatever reason, in the last couple of months, it just organically just started to slow down my use of it. I've been intentionally trying to post a little bit once or twice a day now to get back into it to see, because they've made some changes to the algorithm recently. And I actually like it that it's not just people that I'm following, they're throwing some random moments in there too, which is kind of interesting for me. So it's exposed me to new data sources. But I mean, Facebook and Instagram have totally become my two primary platforms, and actually, honestly, probably more Instagram than Facebook, just because I like the visual aspect of it.
Francine, what about your Twitter usage?
I signed on in December 2006, and I feel the same way that I check Twitter because I want to see if I'm missing something during the day in terms of news, because I know Twitter is really good for breaking news. So I'll look to see if there's any kind of trending hashtag that I ought to know about. But as a general rule, I don't post as much as I used to, and I don't sit on Twitter. I sat on Twitter for years, you know, and I don't anymore. Now it's more for me. It's more Facebook. It's interesting that I'm not a very visual person, so Instagram hasn't caught on with me, but Medium has. So it's like we're going where our natures tell us to go, because we now have so many choices that we don't have to, you know, and I tried LO and I tried G plus and I try everything, you know, I tried Flipboard, but you finally end up going where you want to go, you know?
Well, and I think that's an interesting point, because I think especially for some of us, Francine, like, we've been on the platforms for quite a hefty amount of time. And I think that, you know, as the platforms have matured and as our roles in this place, whether we, you know, do social during the day or we're a business owner and we use social to support our businesses, I think we've just all kind of come to the realization that we don't have to keep up as much as we used to. Like, I just felt there was always this dire need that I had to post on Twitter and I had to post on Facebook and I had to use Instagram and, you know, and yeah, Google Plus and LO. I mean, yes, land grab, I have my usernames, but at the same time, I just realized there's only so much time I actually want to spend online, because especially as I get older, like those offline opportunities are so critical to my happiness that I don't sit on Twitter all day long anymore, or even scan through it. I'll scan through it on the train ride to work, and then I'll highlight a couple things I want to read later, but it's not like I check it every hour on the hour, which I used to do.
And, you know, I mean, Twitter has gone from this, well, we used to call it microblogging, right? I mean, it used to be a platform of getting our ideas across, and it no longer is that for me either. I don't think I was in it as early on as you, but I, you know, fairly early user of Twitter and experimenting. Francine knows our history with Steve and Track. Bring Track back. Track was very interesting, but you know, I kind of go to it when I want to check something, when I think that there's some breaking news, when there's some rumor, when I think someone's died, when I mean, these are really great ways to use Twitter. Oh, did someone die? Let's check Twitter. We'll know instantly, at least what people are saying, right? Is there an earthquake? Great, go to Twitter. These are, so, I mean, Twitter is kind of mission critical in that sense, but I think what I'm hearing from you all about Twitter, about Facebook to some extent, about the algorithms, about the, you know, I got to try this again because it's changed again. Its complexion has changed, right? So there's some fatigue. There's some fatigue here. And when we have the experiences of going to a party and seeing the people that we see online at a party in real life in front of us and be able to hold their hand and cry or get excited about something, that is so much more appealing to me these days.
Yeah, we're all getting fatigued. I mean, everyone I know has Facebook fatigue. Everyone. I just hear it all the time. No one ever says they're going to quit Facebook, because they always say, you know, oh, I have to be on there because my, you know, name it, grandmother, you know, or cousin, whatever is on there.
So but the kids kind of have that right too. They have their accounts, but they rarely use them. But they use them very purposely. You know,
Exactly.
If it's about some, you know, some award at school, if it's about a new love in their life or something like that, they might post it on Facebook. But other than that, they're not posting their day-to-day lives. They're not sharing that much. What they are using is Snapchat a whole lot.
So it's interesting that you bring that up, because I'm going back to the article. It may not be that Twitter's the right thing for marketers anymore, because people keep moving to these new platforms. There's always more platforms, but going back to the crunchies, Twitter did win biggest social impact. So when you think about some of the things like Je suis Charlie and I can't remember some of the other ones, but
Arab Spring, and it's been the middle of a lot of movements.
Right, and during those movements, communication is really key, or the broadcast of events or happenings. And I don't know that, I think maybe what journalists and brands tried to do was translate that into, and especially for journalism, the whole news angle and citizen news, like you were saying, Christy, but it may not translate.
But I think that's where some of these platforms just need to find their niche. And I think that's the genius of Twitter, is they are the first platform I go to around the Super Bowl, around the World Series, around the Oscars, right? Because we can connect around a shared common interest, which isn't as easy to do on Facebook, because people use hashtags on Twitter. They don't really use hashtags on Facebook. And so I think that Twitter and some of those platforms just need to stop trying to be everything. Like, they just added a whole new video where you can shoot video and load it up directly to Twitter now too. And they're like hoping that's going to be the game changer for them, And I just said, yeah, it's cool, but it's not going to make me use the platform more. I think what makes me use the platform is it is a place for me to go around shared communities and be able to find those insights quickly that I can't really find on any other platform like it.
Well, I guess maybe it will be successful, the videos. I mean, if the whole point is sharing these instant moments, like in these sort of social impact type of scenarios, or an event or a Super Bowl, the instant moment, maybe video is good for that. I guess time will tell.
Right. Well, and for me, it's always like they're playing catch up because Instagram has video, right? And so I think that there's these features that I actually already have that need filled elsewhere. And now maybe if Twitter was my sole platform, I'm super excited about this because that now gives me an additional feature I didn't have before. So I think there's going to be a market for it. I just don't know that I actually know that that's not what's going to drive me back to start using Twitter more often.
Yeah,
I go for those shared conversations around a specific topic.
Not only that, but there's only so much video you can watch during the day, in the same way that there's only so many.
My daughter would disagree.
Even if it's 10-second video
that you can watch during the day. And so, if every platform has video, sooner or later there'll be just too much video to sit and watch. Just if you have life, just like
it's actually already too much video, I think. I mean, and it's all got.
Wait a second, we're a video show.
It's all this video has this autoplay going on now, and it's just. It just slows everything down. It's just constantly and it's starting to become annoying.
Well, actually. You know why that is.
Why?
The autoplay is akin to a click-through or a page view. So this is all about metrics. When you arrive on a page, the fact that the video starts playing is because that outlet wants to be able to say this video has been viewed so many times. And if it starts playing immediately, and each, I think, different, you can set what you mean by that. You can say, hey, 15 seconds in, that means somebody was watching this. Or you could say 10 minutes in, somebody's watching this. But still, that's what that's about, that autoplay. And to capture your attention. If they can capture your attention the first few seconds, more power to them.
Yeah, and if it's an ad, if you look at it for something like 10 seconds, then the advertiser, the ad is considered served, and the
And they
advertiser has
pay.
to pay for the ad. Or
It's all
it's
about
not
the
10
money.
seconds, it's something like
That's
two
right.
seconds. It's a very short
Yeah.
period of time, and it's totally absurd. But there's a whole thing in the advertising industry now called viewability. And so the Institute for Interactive Advertising Bureau, whatever it is, has new viewability standards, and those standards tell publishers how much of their ad or video or whatever has to play before an advertiser will before they can bill an advertiser, and an advertiser has to pay for the ad, and that's why all these video ads autoplay.
By the way, I wanted to point out that in our small but humble chat, our live chat that goes on during the show, that someone was commenting that Twitter is good for nonprofit engagement. And I think, I think on our show, we're going to bring on a couple of guests who are in the nonprofit sector, and maybe a few women who have some startups around here, and see what they're doing. But and we'll ask them that. How's Twitter doing for your engagement? What are they using for engagement? That's a kind of an interesting question.
Well, Christina also said that a lot of people are using Twitter, just they read it and look at the content, but they don't post. And that's kind of how I'm using it lately too. I don't post as much anymore, but I do scan it and just see what's out there.
Well, yeah, and how we use tools evolves over time. The tools themselves change, and we change. Our experience in using them forces a change over time. So that feels, it's a natural evolution. But I think, to me, I'm kind of feeling at this moment in time that media is really changing. Social media is also not quite living up to its promise at the moment. It's not as fulfilling as it had been, and I'm kind of feeling a little lack of everything. Like, if I can't trust the journalists, and I can't, and the media, and people are, pulling their cords, and pulling their cable, and not posting to Facebook, and not doing this. I kind of think that we're a little nowhere right now, and that's maybe an interesting moment.
Well, I think
if it is, it may have something to do with all those people who are not vaccinating their children.
Oh, good Lord.
I'm serious. There's so much distrust of all of our institutions. And, journalism happens to be the fourth estate, but, there's also government and education and politics. I'm sorry, government, education, and what the heck is the third one? Oh, well, journalism's the fourth, whatever. We're not institutionally, we don't believe in anything anymore. And that's making people tune out.
Christy, what were you about to say to that? Something.
Well, I think the promise of social media, when it first kind of came into fold, I was 2004, 2005-ish, when, blogging really started to take a hold with a certain group of folks, that, it gave us this lovely opportunity to have a voice, and gave us opportunity to connect with people that had shared interests. And then it's hard because I'm in, I do this for a brand, so I'm in the marketing spaces as well. But then I'm like, then the marketers came in, and and I just think it changed it. But it happens with everything, and I think that's just the nature of this. We're going to go out and develop new tools, and we'll figure out new ways to connect. But I think the promise early on was that we were going to be able to have a voice, be heard. Right, in which now there's so much chatter online, the odds of you being heard are actually dwindling down, but there's still opportunities, and that you can just connect with people with like causes, or people that have different opinions, so that you can learn and expand your own, philosophy around things. And I just think it just grew up so fast, and then the brands came in and it changed it, and it turned into a marketing tool, and So there's a little bit of sadness in my heart because of that, because I'm a purist in that respect. At the same time, it's like, it gives me a job, so thank you.
Right. Well, speaking of marketing opportunities, I'm going to have the chance to borrow a vehicle next week. A friend of the Valley, let's put it this way. He's clothed many people in Silicon Valley. Mr. Scott Jordan, who is the CEO of Scotty Vest. He created these. Originally, they were vests, and it's turned into a whole, wardrobe line, pretty much, of clothing that has many, many pockets and many different sized pockets, so we can carry around all of our very useful devices. And Scott, at some point, I don't know, in the past year or so, got this car that he labeled the Pocket Man car. He's got a book out called The Pocket Man, which talks about his journey into becoming the Scotty Vest guy. And so he has this car. It's a kind of interesting car. It's not a car. It's a vehicle. It's a 3-wheeled vehicle. I believe it's actually sanctioned as a motorcycle. You have to wear a helmet, and there are no doors, and it's very low to the ground. I saw it first in person at Robert Scoble's birthday party up in Nampa. We all sort of took a big group picture there, and I've seen it again at other events. And Scott is generously said, "Sure, Tina, take it for a spin for a few days and go and pick up your friends and
can I come?
Yeah, man. You can definitely come." And so this is what I'm saying. Even though this is a marketing thing, it really appeals to me because it's about in-person meeting and conversation and getting together and having a little fun. And so this kind of brings it all together for me today. It's like, we need to laugh a little more. We need to have a little more fun. It needs to be a little more in person. Scott, I'm going to borrow your car and have some fun.
And I'm going to bring my GoPro and mount it.
There you go.
He actually has 3 GoPros mounted on the car itself.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
It's pretty cool.
But bring yours anyway. Bring yours anyway, because that will even add some more fun.
Yes.
And we'll shoot some video and take some stills, and it will be a blast.
I've written in it, and I will tell you that I appreciate a roof over my head, or some structure at least, because when you get that thing going, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome, but it's also like, oh, I hope we don't roll it.
I'm a little, you're a little unprotected is what it is. I mean, it's a little more motorcycle-ish, right?
Yes.
Yes, even though
it's a 3-wheel motorcycle.
And it kind of looks like a Batman car, a little bit, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that
we should post a photo of it up onto the group page so people can see what it looks like. Yeah.
Let's do that. And we'll have Scott on the show. Because I think he's got something to say about the company he's built up for a while, and also about this. I don't know. It's kind of it's an interesting marketing idea to me, and he's having fun, truly connecting with people, and I want to applaud him for that. It's killing. Well, I don't like the phrase killing a bird with stone, killing 2 birds with 1 stone, but it kind of is, and it's kind of cool.
Well, and it reminds me back in. Gosh, it's like 05, 06. And for the life of me, as soon as I started to say it, I can't remember what the name of the wine company is out of Australia, but they started to ship cases of wine to all of the startup folks here in San Francisco, and they were hosting parties. I know through Social Media Club, they sent us, and I'm so sorry I can't remember your name right now, but it's 8 years ago.
You are forgiven.
It was genius because, they knew we were having these monthly events. They're like, we want to give you guys free wine. And so they would just ship us a case or 2, and they'd ship it to other startups as well. And it was such great marketing promo for them because it's like we'd be talking about it. We're taking photos of it. We'd give them love. And I just think that is the positive power of the social platforms in this day, that if you can give people the experience, they will naturally market the product for you. And hopefully it's a good experience, right? And Rebecca's showing something
and hopefully
right now.
we can also be a little honest along the way. Rebecca?
So Illy just did this. Illy Coffee, they just randomly shipped me a case of coffee. So I'll bring that and share it with you guys. But here I am sharing it with the world because I think that was their hope, was just, hey, you're somebody that, you know, might share the brand. And here you go. Here's a case of coffee.
Yeah, it's the whole premise of the clout perks too, right? You get clout perks and you get sent to influencers who have reach, because the hope is they're taking photos of it, they're wearing your product, they're shooting videos around it. And, you know, it's kind of like, that's genius marketing. And it's a pretty low cost for him. I mean, I don't know what the Polaris cost Scott Jordan, right? I mean, I'm sure that thing was not inexpensive, but you know, whether he sends a vest to somebody or like Illy sends coffee to Rebecca, right? Or we got the wine from Australia, and I will post your name. I promise you. I'm so sorry I can't remember. But I just think it's genius to kind of get that in the hands of folks and let them experience it and then talk about it and share it with their friends. And it's the power of the tools.
That's why they make you drive cars in car dealerships. They want you to get behind the wheel and experience it.
Well,
it's not exactly new marketing.
No, everyone knows in retail, I mean, the way to sell something is get someone to touch something. If you touch something, you're half the way there to buying it.
I was sort of impressed how they found my address. I have no idea.
Oh, this may be.
I wasn't sure if I was creeped out by that or if I'm more impressed. I'm not even mad.
This may be a question for Mary, our privacy person. She's going to have to give her the puzzle. Say, Mary, solve this puzzle for me. She'll figure it out.
Well, there's one other brand that did it too. Maybe I'll go get it. I'll be right back.
Ooh, people are sending Rebecca things. It's so exciting. Hey, people, you want to send me stuff? Please do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what the mommy bloggers do. People send them stuff.
Yeah. Okay, what do we have now?
So a brand called Tribe Sports sent me a workout shirt, and it's a really nicely cut, really cute. This is the back. It's kind of tapered.
It's got a racer stripe.
Yeah, it's got a racer stripe, and it's got some really neat texture. You can't see it because, well,
is it a smart
camera's
shirt?
Terrible. It's not a smart shirt, but man, it feels wonderful. And so again, another company that decided to, I mean, it's really beautifully cut, and I can't wait to wear it. But again, I don't know how they found my address. I don't know how they even got into my building. They just dropped it off in front of my door. And
goodness,
honey, it's data collection. It's big data. This is what big data is used for.
Well, I think it's interesting though, because Rebecca's saying, I mean, supposedly her home address is not publicly out there. So how are they finding it? I mean, my friends have my address, but
she only thinks that.
Yeah, that's true.
She thinks it because she's an introvert. It's not out there.
Oh, I'm sure it's out there. I just don't know, you know. Well, anyway.
If people would see Rebecca in person, they'd know that she has a beautiful physique, and any clothing manufacturer is going to say, of course, send this stuff to her, get it on her back, let people see this. It'll be a great use of our money. All right.
Well, if anyone finds my address, feel free to send me free stuff.
And if anyone out there specializes in Roman-sized women, you know, hit me up.
Okay. All right. Well, guess what? It's that time. Well, this was fun. I missed y'all last week. And
okay, so here's the thing. The less structured an agenda we have, the better it goes.
Well,
that's the learning.
You know, there's something to be said, and I'll repeat it, that when people do talk to me about the show, one of the things that they say is that we really feel it's a very real conversation, and we feel like we're a part of it. And I'm very proud of that, because it's, you know, It is a real conversation.
It's very real.
It is a real conversation, and we can do that, and so and it's fun, and hopefully,
it's friends.
It's informative, and hopefully, you know, we're talking about things that you want to talk about. So, you know, let's.
And I love it when Gray makes an appearance, so don't kick him out.
Gray.
He's laying on the keyboard.
He's so. Oh my God.
You realize that I have 3 dogs in my backyard, so that I don't inadvertently do that. But now I'm going to take a little more license next time.
No, no, you're not. Because dogs are. Now, if my dogs were around, they'd be ruining the show. But Gray at least knows how to, like. He lies down and he's pretty quiet.
Quiet.
May I say one thing? Because I actually just found the wine company's name.
Please. Okay, wait, Christy. Let me give you a little due here. Go ahead.
It's Stormhook or Stormhook.
Oh, Stormhook. Yeah.
Do you guys remember that?
McLeod used to work for them.
Yeah, that's it. It was Hugh McLeod, and I'm like going, it's killing me. That was Hugh McLeod's
marketing program. This is awesome.
So shout out to the Stormhook guys. Sorry, I didn't remember that name originally.
Right.
But thanks for all the wine.
There you go. And if any of you winemakers out there really need someone to test your product, I'm your gal.
Oh no, I'm the gal.
We're your gals.
I think I'm the gal.
Okay.
Basically, just send a case and we'll divide it up.
There you go.
Look up my address.
I think we need to have a drinking show, don't you think?
Oh,
don't you think we need to talk to some of these, you know, wine and alcohol companies and just, you know, do a little taste test, ask them about their marketing and their social and, you know, that's what we need to do. We need a little bit of, I think we need a little bit of bubbly is what we need. Okay. All right. So let's wind this one up. Thank you to Ustream for providing our streaming and recording capabilities here on G3. And thank you to NewTek for their wonderful TriCaster. I love button pushing, and I promise to learn more even about it. It's a very full-featured piece of equipment and software. And there's always something new to learn. And thank you to you all. Thank you to all of you out there watching us and being part of our conversation. We're enjoying what we're doing, and we're hoping that you continue to watch and give us some feedback. Don't forget our Facebook page at facebook.com/G3show, and we're at ustream.tv/G3. Okay. Thank you, Rebecca Woodcock, Christy Wells, and Francine Hardaway. And
Tina Gilmore.
We're Tina Gilmore here.
And Tina Gilmore.
And we're hoping that our other co-hosts are coping as best they can with weather situations. And Hallie, I don't know if we need to, send you a snow shovel at this point, but
I don't know.
I think just a one-way ticket to San Francisco.
I think so. I think it's kind of like, if I was living in Boston right now, I'd be like, I am out of here, like permanently, because it's not getting any better. And I don't know how to tell Hallie that, but Hallie, you got to come here.
Never.
That's just it. You got to come here. Okay. All right. So let's get this together. Let's get our logo together, and we'll all.
Thanks to Gray.
Oh wait. Oh, I didn't credit Gray. Gray, thank you so much for ruining the show. And
he's so
kitty. Can you see him? Oh, there you go. Okay. And let's all say till next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.